Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. What really happened in the cheap attacks on Donald Trump? That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. I use the word cheap because if the media reports gossip, innuendo, and defamation without presenting evidence, that is cheap, is it not? It is imperative that a free press be fair, and giving any kind of exposure to allegations that smear a person, any person, is wrong. Doesn't matter if those allegations are in a report or anywhere else. If there's no backup, no facts to indicate the allegations may have some credibility, they should not be published. I hope we all understand that. Now on to what happened to Donald Trump. In September of 2015, someone hired a Washington political research firm, Fusion GPS, to dig up dirt on Mr. Trump. Taking the money, the company began its sordid quest. A few months later, some Democrats who supported Hillary Clinton also began to pay Fusion for dirt. In June 2016, Fusion hired a retired British intelligence officer, Christopher Steele, to get that dirt. Apparently, Steele talked to some Russian operatives and began issuing a series of memos based on the gossip that he heard. In August of 2016, ABC's Brian Ross reported yesterday those salacious memos written by Steele found their way to the FBI. Then on Halloween, appropriately enough, a far-left magazine ran a story about the anti-Trump operation. The national media did not pick it up, to its credit. 1 week ago, January 5th, President Obama was briefed on Russia's efforts to influence the U.S. election, and the anti-Trump garbage was included in that intel briefing. Vice President Biden said today that the president questioned why the gossip was even included in the briefing, and he was not pleased. That is to Mr. Obama's credit. The next day, Donald Trump received the same intelligence from 4 senior U.S. intel chiefs. That's when all hell broke loose. Also receiving the information, 8 congresspeople: Paul Ryan, Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, Devin Nunes, Adam Schiff, Richard Burr, and Mark Warner. A short time later, CNN received a leak that the salacious anti-Trump stuff was presented to Obama and Trump. Then BuzzFeed printed the salacious stuff. Now, a bunch of the allegations have already been discredited. None confirmed, none. Yet some argue that the public should be allowed to see all the garbage, even though it certainly hurts the Trump administration and the president-elect himself. So you, as an honest American, must decide, do you want salacious trash in the public square distributed by the media? Do you? There are no rules anymore. Allegations become convictions. Gossip and innuendo become fact. Standards on the internet and for much of the establishment media no longer exist. Donald Trump has denied all the accusations, is angry, as we saw yesterday. But in the long run, it's America that should be angry, because this kind of stuff is harming the fabric of our society, our political structure, and our ability to evaluate information in a fair way. Facts should be reported. Baseless allegations paid for by political assassins should not, unless credible evidence is presented to back them up. Period. And that's the memo. Now for the top story reaction, we're pleased to have Senator Lindsey Graham joining us from Washington.
Thank you.
Have you read those accusations? Did you have them before the story broke?
Senator McCain was given a copy of this in December after the election. I looked at it. He decided to turn it over to the FBI. I said that's the right move. I would tell your audience that you should view this with skepticism, suspicion, and that I'm very disappointed that we go into a new year with this garbage before us. Okay. There's plenty of things to disagree with Trump about, but this is not one of them.
Your friend John McCain has showed it to you, and you then knew what this, I don't even know how to describe it, this operation to besmirch Trump was doing. Did you think it had any press worthiness? That it should, none, zero.
No, well, one, one, I didn't know the background of who did it.
Yeah,
I
no,
learned
it's not in the
something. I
memo.
learned something
Right.
tonight. You know, this is why I should watch your show more. I didn't know the connection of the British guy to the attack
Well,
campaign.
I'm glad you learned that. Okay.
Well, I did.
But just you, as a sitting senator, you read it. You didn't think that the press should have access to it or put it out in any way, shape, or form. Okay.
No,
so then when you saw...
the first thing I thought of was we should all be suspicious of this because I wouldn't put it past the Russians to plant this story.
Of course they planted the story.
Yeah.
Of course they did. This guy was being paid, this British intel agent. He's talking to these Russians,
could happen to
and
anybody
they're trashing Trump as much as they can. Okay. So now, when you saw this week that this story gets out, and CNN didn't put the story out, but brought attention to the story. But I want to be very clear that CNN didn't put out the salacious details. That was BuzzFeed. But they brought attention to the story.
Right.
When you saw that, what went through your mind?
Well, I didn't have any idea it was in the intel report. And again, people in your business have got to decide, you know, what is in the best interest of our country and the public. To indicate that a report has been briefed by the president that there is no foundation if it's true or not, to me seems to be a disservice to the country.
If you were running a network, would you... Since Fox
No.
News had this information, I talked to the reporter today who
Right.
got it last summer. We
Right.
did not put it out. That was a decision made by FNC.
Right.
And I think it was a right decision. Do you?
Right. I'm not in your business, but I wouldn't put out anything that I
Yeah, we didn't
could
even
not
mention
prove.
it or in any way, shape, or form. Okay. All right, let's get on to you and Donald Trump. You guys aren't friends.
Yeah, me and the Donald.
You're not
Absolutely.
friends, and that's all right. You know, that's okay.
We're not enemies either.
All right. So, Russia, you have a great interest in Russia. And you have been a little bit critical of Trump trying to foster a relationship with Putin. Trump says it's better for us to be friends with Putin, but
Right.
if he doesn't play along, I'm going to be his worst enemy. Do
Right.
you see anything specifically that Trump is doing wrong vis-a-vis Vladimir Putin?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is that it's been hard for him to come to the conclusion that the Russians hacked into the
But
DNC
he has
and
now.
Decimus.
He
He
has,
has,
as
but
he said
it's
yesterday.
been a long journey that reinforces a narrative in the minds of the Russians that this guy wants to play ball. Almost he wants the relationship too much. Here's what I prefer the president-elect do. I have been briefed. I believe the Russians did it. They're going to pay a heavy price. It was the Democrats today. It could be the Republicans tomorrow. I'm the defender of democracy, the protector of freedom, and no foreign entity is going to interfere in our elections without paying a price. And declare Putin the man he really is. He's a disruptive force throughout
but
the
if
world.
he does that, Senator, then he alienates Putin from the jump. It looks like the Trump strategy, when Tillerson is the Secretary of State, is to go over and say, look, let's start afresh. Let's knock this off and work together to defeat ISIS and not have tensions. Isn't that more worthy to try that than to threaten him right from the jump?
Not at all. I think what I would do is say that there's a new sheriff in town, and you're going to pay a price for what you did. Obama said, knock it off in October. The
So
first
you
thing
would punish Russia even further than what President Obama did? You would punish them.
Absolutely. Well, I've introduced sanctions that would hit their energy economy, the foundation of their economy, the financial services sector.
But you know if you do that, then it's a Cold War all over again. You know that.
It's a hot war. It's not a Cold War.
But if Trump can bring down the heat and form some kind of alliance... Now, look, I'm not saying he can. I'm just saying you're shutting the avenue off altogether. You're saying we're going to hurt you, Putin, now, and then you know Putin. He's going to try to hurt us back, and we got a problem with Russia right from the beginning, rather than trying to de-intensify it as Trump looks like he'll do. But you're still the hawkish guy as far as Russia's concerned.
I don't know if it's hawkish for the President of the United States to punish a foreign power for trying to interfere in our democracy. Here's what I believe. Two presidents have miscalculated Putin. Bush looked into his eyes and saw his soul, and Obama wanted to reset. I want a better relationship with Russia as much as you do, as much as Trump does. But the one thing I'm convinced of, you'll never have a better relationship forgiving this guy for all his misdeeds. A better relationship would mean that he no longer tries to destroy democracy around the world, interfere in our elections, kill his opponents, and steal his people blind. I have a different view of what we should do. My view view is that we should hit Russia hard for what they've done to make sure they don't do it in the future. And China and Iran and everybody else is sizing us up. The evidence is in for Lindsey Graham. Putin is a bad actor. What we're doing is not working in terms of deterring him. And I intend to do more, and I'll make a prediction on your show. I predict that the sanctions that we've introduced will be voted on relatively quick, and we'll get 80 votes in the United States Senate to punish Russia for what they did in our election,
you think
what
Trump
they're
will
doing all
veto
over
that?
the world. I don't know. I hope he won't. Here's my advice to President-elect Trump. You beat me. I got it. I want to help you. You're the president. God knows you got a plate full of stuff. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with John McCain. But you got willing partners in the Congress, Republicans and Democrats, to hit Russia hard, to give you leverage, to get a better relationship. The one thing I'm convinced of about Putin is he's not going to stop this until he pays the price, and nobody's made him pay a price yet.
That's for sure. Senator, thanks very much. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you.